Halloween 2 from 1981. Tagline, "The Boogeyman is back." Directed by Rick Rosenthal. Written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Music by John Carpenter. Made for a budget of $2.5 million. Made $25.5 million. So, respectable amount of money it made. Although the extra budget in this, I didn't feel like really made it that much better than the first movie, which was made for significantly less. But
yeah, it seemed like, I would say, the same quality. It was definitely not better quality. It was the same quality at best.
At best, yes. Principal players: Jamie Lee Curtis playing Laurie Strode, final girl, and dun dun dun, she's his sister.
Which, I mean, they really, what is it, about 3/4 of the way of the film we find this out?
Yeah, it's Loomis is in the car ride back to Smith's Grove, and whoever the executive woman is and the U.S. Marshal that's been hired to take them back there. She's like, "I got to tell you something. There was notes that were kept from you that were locked up by the court, blah, blah, blah. There was a younger sister." And, you know, that, yeah, it's like toward the end of the film.
Yeah.
Dick Warlock, which is a hell of a name, plays the Shape / Michael Myers, who is the sororicide. I looked that fancy word up. Sister killer /
Okay.
Which is what he does. I mean, literally in the first two films, he's killing his sisters. I mean,
she's my sister. She's my sister.
I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her. He was in Firestarter in 1984.
Ooh.
I mean, I think these are all like stunt gigs.
Oh, okay.
The Thing, Escape from New York, Inner Space, Spider-Man 2002,
wow,
Child's Play 2 and 3, The Abyss, Pumpkinhead,
ooh,
Big Trouble in Little China, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and then Angel 1 and 3, which is a low budget movie about, it's kind of a rape revenge style movie about a kid. It starts out with a girl who's in high school, but at night she's a hooker on the streets of LA.
Okay.
And then, like, I mean, throughout the rest of the movies, they're one way or the other, they drag her back into the where she has to kill a bunch of people, kind of like the female version of Death Wish or something. So.
Okay. What season would Pumpkinhead be going into? Creature feature?
It would be a creature feature.
Okay.
And God, I can't wait for that. I love that fucking movie so much.
That's going to be fun.
Donald Pleasant's back again as Dr. Samuel Loomis, the Doom Prophet, and the Van Helsing of the series.
Pooh Bear, Dr. Loomis.
He's a little bit more Pooh Bear in this movie.
Oh, he is a lot more Pooh Bear in this movie.
Charles Cyphers plays Lee Brackett, the local town sheriff again. Only in it for like a split second, just enough to realize his daughter's dead and then to fuck off.
Yeah.
So, I mean... Lance Guest plays Jimmy, the ambulance driver who's smitten with Laurie in the movie. He was in The Last Starfighter that Nick Castle directed. Jaws: The Revenge, Altered Perceptions from 2023, and Night of the Wolf, which is a pretty good werewolf movie about a werewolf that starts attacking an old folks' home.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's like there's a retired group of these old folks or whatever that living in a home, and there's a werewolf that's about, and it's like a lower budget, but they actually do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah.
Annie Brewer plays Alice Martin, Haddonfield High School student. Jack Verboy plays Bennett Ben Tramer, Laurie's ill-fated love. Got ran over by a police car and then blows up instantly whenever he gets hit. He's a stuntman that was in Escape from New York, Predator, Casino, Scarface, and Army of Darkness. Cliff Emick plays Mr. Garrett, the hospital security guard.
Oh, I was thinking Mr. Garrison. I'm so dumb.
And he's sadly one of those guys who was heavy back in the 70s or early 80s, which was next to nobody because whatever they done to our food and caused us all to get overweight or whatever happened to us wasn't a thing then. So if you were fat back in those days, people let you know about it. And poor Cliff, I mean, he was one of them.
Yeah.
Leo Rossi plays Vincent Bud the Chud Scarlatti. He's not Bud the Chud, he's just Bud, but he's an EMT and a horn dog. Pamela Susan Shoup plays Karen Bailey, who's a nurse that's likes to get a little bit freaky in the movie.
Yeah.
Ford Rainey plays Dr. Frederick Mixter, who's the chief of staff, likes to get a little drunk at the country club downtown. Anna Alicia plays Janet Marshall, who's another nurse and student. There's a lot of hospital staff getting killed in this movie because that's primarily where it's fucking set. Gloria Guilford plays Virginia Alves, who's the ethnic head nurse and kind of a bitch, you know. But she's just trying to do her job, so it's forgivable. And Tawny Moyer plays Jill Franco, who's another nurse in the movie. And then John Zenda plays Terrence Gummel, who is the U.S. Marshal, who is terrible at checking pulses. I'll just leave
Oh, my
it at
God. I'm going to say it right now. Most of these nurses, they were one size fits all.
Yeah, you couldn't tell one being killed for the other.
Yeah.
Synopsis. We pick up right where the original film ended. Laurie's friends are dead. Laurie herself has been transported to the local hospital to treat her wounds, and Loomis is running around town with the local police trying to track down Michael after he survives 6 shots. 6 shots!
6 shots!
And pieced out like a white trash dad being asked to pay for child support.
No, you didn't.
Michael goes around town killing and chilling while riding Sam Hain or Samhain on shit and blood because it looks cool, all the while looking out for Laurie because Mikey don't let a job go undone. Turns out that Laurie is actually his sister. What the twist? And somehow Michael has to kill every sister in his family. First responders get slayed. Hot tub Hanky Panky gets permanently delayed. And Dr. Loomis throws himself into a fire to save the day. There you go.
Oh, my God.
Body count. 10 counted, 14 non-counted.
Ooh, we've gone up, folks.
We have. They had to compete with Friday the 13th, which basically stole from the original 78 movie. Sean Cunningham even admitted it. So now it's, each one's chasing each other at this point. Alice Martin is stabbed in the chest with a butcher knife. Ben Tramer is hit by a car and burned to death in the funniest fucking explosion I've ever seen in a movie.
It was wild.
Outside of prom night. There was a pretty funny one in that one. Mr. Garrett has a hammer claw took to the head. Bud the Chud gets strangled to death with a cord. Nurse Karen Bailey is drowned and peels to death in a hot tub that is hydrotherapy or something in the hospital.
Hydrotherapy. And you know what? Hold on. We got to stop right here because never in the history of ever has a man turned on the water too hot for a woman to get in. She was like, ooh, it's so hot. No, that's not how this works.
We're going to speak about this. I mean, we're going to talk about this right now. The fact that Michael's hand can go under the water and doesn't get burned, but she does, ain't right. Somebody wasn't paying fucking attention. And it was probably John Carpenter, even though he wasn't directing, he was producing. But he even says in the trivia, he did it for a paycheck and he fucked off. So, I mean, there you go.
Yeah. And it's Michael Myers. So people are really going to absolutely let that slide because there's a lot of things that happen to Michael that shouldn't affect him. The
fact he gets shot all the time and doesn't bleed.
6
I mean,
times.
6 times I shot Michael. I shot him 6 times.
So we'll let that one slide, but I did notice that. But before it even happened, because he dunked her head in a few times before he brought it back up and nothing had happened to her face quite yet. It took about the 3rd time that we started seeing something. But before that even happened, I was like, oh, I bet you nothing's going to happen to his hands, but something's going to happen to her face. And that's what happened.
Yeah. And it, for sure, that's how they did it. Let's see. Dr. Mixter is found with a syringe in his eyeball, which is actually a pretty good effect scene. I'll give him that. Nurse Janet is stabbed in the temple with a syringe and then injected with air, which is actually a cool kill because most people don't realize that if you inject somebody with air, you can get an embolism from it and die. So, I mean, that's got some science behind it. Nurse Alves is found with blood draining from an IV. That's a cool kill just because he literally just let all of her blood drain out into the fucking floor.
Yes.
Nurse Jill is stabbed in the back with a scalpel and then lifted up off the ground, and then she dies kind of off screen. It's not really that great. And then U.S. Marshal has his throat slit with a scalpel and one of the most ridiculous deaths in the movie and probably in the series. So
really? Because who was the guy that found Nurse Alves, whatever, He found her and he slipped and he passed out. I thought he died, but we find him later.
He gets knocked out, and then he comes to, and then he passes out again. That's Jimmy. That's the EMT or the ambulance driver who was attracted to Laurie.
So did he survive?
He survived officially because he only passed out at the end of the movie.
Okay.
Although non-counted.
Okay, he's there.
Let's throw him in there. He dies from head trauma, but in the TV cut of the movie, which a lot of people say is superior, he, or in certain ways, he survives overall. So that one's on the fence. You could say he died, but they don't show it in the movie.
Okay.
Alan Gateway's son is unknown. It's mentioned in Halloween 4 that, he died during the events of this movie. Dr. Samuel Loomis and Michael Myers technically both die at the end of the movie, but we know that's bullshit because they come back in part 4.
They never die.
And although they've been burned, they've got scars.
Yeah.
Even though, whatever. Other taglines for the movie: more of the night he came home.
Nope.
He came back to finish what they'll never forget.
That sounds dirty.
He would do anything for love, but he won't do that. How do you kill what's not alive? Which doesn't make any sense because he is.
Yeah.
Whatever. Did you enjoy Halloween? He did, but he's not satisfied.
That is nasty. That they're being naughty.
The nightmare isn't over.
I like that, but that's kind of very Freddy Krueger-ish.
It is, which is before Freddy. It was even a thing.
Yeah.
All new from the people who brought you Halloween. More of the night he came home. That is both a bad one and too long didn't read.
Yeah, TLDR, and it's terrible.
Just when you thought it was safe to go trick-or-treating.
Okay, that could work.
Speaking of that, how'd you like that scene that's kind of half shown in the movie where the kid has eaten the razor blade and his mom's like dragging him into the hospital and blood's just gushing out of his mouth?
I love that one, too. I love that it's addressed again later in the films.
Do you know why that was in that scene? Because Carpenter had fully planned on part 3, and then on being, like we said, different types of movies, and he was totally going to make a movie about candy being deadly, to kids or whatever.
I didn't know that, but it makes sense. But again, like I said, the one thing I do know and that I love is that they addressed this again in another film. So.
Let's see. They couldn't stop him. Now he's back! !
It works.
It's only a murderer. ... It's not only a murderer. ... It's an indestructible terror!
TLDR.
The sensational follow-up to the worldwide phenomenon. Jesus. More terror, even more terrifying.
No.
Halloween in all caps. The horror smash of the 70s. Halloween 2, all caps. The horror smash of the 80s? ? No, it wasn't. We'll just say that.
Okay. Make me want to smash my head against something, which Michael Myers is amazing at doing. He is the king.
He likes to go around smashing people's heads into stuff.
Smashing pumpkins, more like smashing skulls.
That might factor into a movie I might cover later. I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay. So we'll go. He does it so much that doesn't give away anything.
No, it doesn't at all.
Quotes. Doyle's neighbor. Is this a joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. Sam Loomis. You don't know what death is.
I love that quote. You don't know what death is. He's so fucking dramatic. He is the most dramatic Pooh Bear ever.
I didn't put this in there, but that first movie where that kid goes to the Myers house and he's trying to spook him away, and he's like, "Get your ass away from there," or whatever. Like, I love that scene.
I love it.
He smiles after he says it too. That's my favorite part. It's like he's proud of himself, and then he's like, "I did something kind of naughty tonight." It's kind of funny to watch. Sam Loomis. I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart, but he's not human.
Who, Loomis? Fucking who, Pooh? Okay, Jesus.
And of course, he was my patient for 15 years. He became an obsession with me until I realized there was nothing wrong within him, neither unconscious nor reason that was even remotely human. An hour ago, I stood up and fired 6 shots into him again, the 6th. And he just got up and walked away. I'm talking about the real possibility that he is still out there. Lee Brackett, doctor, I'm just about there. Sam Loomis, what? Lee Brackett, the point where I stopped taking orders from you.
Yeah, that was Lee. That was the Lee that I was like, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Sam Loomis, in order to appease the gods, the druid priest held fire rituals. Prisoners of war, criminals, the insane animals were burned alive in baskets. By observing the way they died, the druids believed they could see omens of the future. 2,000 years later, we've come no further. Sam Hain isn't evil spirits, and I'm saying it the way he did, because it's always bad in these movies. It isn't goblins, ghosts, or witches. It's the unconscious mind. We're all afraid of the dark inside ourselves.
Samhain is like Arkansas. You should not. Why do we have to pronounce it like that? It's Samhain. I'm with Loomis on this one. I'm sorry.
I agree that it looks like Sam Hain. I said it for years that way, but when Trick or Treat told me the correct way to say it, now I say it the right way.
Yeah, well, I have witches that will fucking come after me if I don't say it properly, but I'm here, witches, to say it's spelt like Sam Hain. Don't come at me.
Listen, I'm a firm believer if the place says it that way, that's what you go with. It's like Louisville. Everybody says Louisville or Louisville. No, it's Louisville. Say it the way that we say it.
Told my husband this, and then I told my coworkers at work because they listen and they're like, "Where is he from?" And I obviously don't say you're from there, but I was like, if you don't say it properly, it's like I have to say it right, or he's gonna show up and stab me in the back or something.
It's like Versailles, Kentucky. Yes, in Paris, France, it's Versailles, but we say Versailles, and that's what we call it.
It looks like Versailles to me, so
And those aren't even the weirdest ones we pronounce, so I'm just throwing it out there. Movie review. Visually, I don't think this movie improves on the first one whatsoever. I really don't. The visual effects are cooler because they're more graphic. I'll give them that. The blood oozing out on the floor. Ben Tramer's burnt body is a really cool effect in the movie whenever they're sitting there trying to, do the autopsy. The needle to the eye for Dr. Mixter is pretty cool. The fire at the end, cool scene. Iconic scene of him walking completely engulfed in flames.
Yeah, that was, and then was it her that was watching him walk by?
It was Laurie Strode just kind of watching him walk toward her, slunk down again because in this movie, they give her a reason to be slunk down because she's doped up throughout the entire movie.
That is true. However, I think there is an excuse. She's fucked up from the first film.
She's got a reason, but she had more she had more just fight in her in the first movie. In this one, she's literally just running from Michael the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she doesn't even really, the only thing she does take the fight back to him is when Loomis is directing her to open up those valves for the oxygen machines or whatever.
That was cool because I liked how the noises were making him swing in that direction, and he was getting real fucking close. And I'll tell you what, those motherfuckers did not know how to fucking be quiet. I will tell you that much.
Speaking of that scene, when she shoots him, she does shoot him in the eyes.
Yes.
And that blood runs out of his mouth. That's a cool look.
Yes.
That is a cool look. I'm trying to give the movie credit where it's at because it ain't in the story. I do not like the story in this one whatsoever.
No,
I just
don't. It wasn't it. I'm trying to think. I mean,
it's literally just, the one cool thing at the beginning is them showing that interstitial scene. This is my favorite part of the movie. The interstitial scene where right after Michael has escaped, when Loomis looks down and he's gone.
Yeah.
And then we go to Michael and he goes to that one old woman's house. She's making the sandwich for her husband who's asleep. And then Michael's like, that shot is actually my favorite shot probably in the series. She's standing there looking into the living room. They were filming it from the husband's point of view, and Michael is standing directly behind it. It's a creepy fucking shot. It's like long range. It's perfect, but the rest of the movie does not do anything as good as that.
Well, what creeped me out about it is the way she's just kind of standing there so still. She almost looks Michael Myers-ish, but also I was like, is she fucking dead and she's going to fall over any second? I didn't know that until obviously, what happened.
But that's where he gets his butcher knife, of course, because that's what she's been using to smother the mayonnaise on the sandwiches.
I thought there was chicken on the. No, I thought I saw some raw chicken on the cutting board.
No, because she was like cutting ham.
Okay, that makes sense.
She was making him a ham sandwich because I don't know if this was a thing in the early 80s. Instead of having like deli sliced ham, she had a big chunk of it, and she was cutting it off for him.
That was a thing definitely back in the day. We used to have a meat slicer or whatever, but maybe they just had sex and she's making him a sandwich, you know?
Well, he decided to do what most men do and just go to sleep after sex, which is reasonable.
These are two roles. They knew what to do. They understood the assignment.
But I like that scene where they're going through the town and they're showing what's happening that night. I like those scenes.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie keeps cutting back to that fucking boring ass hospital, and I do not like the hospital stuff at all. I was like, I've never liked it, so I was like, I'm gonna give it its chance. I gave all these movies its chance, and some of them improved. They really did. But I gave it its chance. I'm like, this movie puts me to sleep. It's basically my melatonin because it's all in this dreary hospital. All the rooms look alike. All the nurses look alike.
Yes.
There's no difference. And the scenes where they're out and about in the town, perfectly fine. It's kind of cool to see the aftermath of the first movie. When it goes back to the hospital, I'm like, snooze alert.
Yeah.
Even with the good kills in the hospital, it's boring as fuck because the scenery is the fucking same.
The only thing I can give you in the hospital, I can only give you one thing, and maybe you'll agree with me, but maybe you won't, is that I did appreciate the emptiness of the hospital for only one reason. That's not a thing that would happen nowadays. Maybe back then in that, fake town, maybe that was a thing where, there wasn't a lot of people because there wasn't a lot of excitement in that town. They say it throughout the film series, a town where nothing exciting ever happens. I literally think that Michael Myers is the only thing exciting that's ever happened to that town, But can you imagine how terrifying it would be to walk out of the hospital and be screaming and there's no one there to help you?
Yeah, I will give them this. If like little town hospitals, there are a couple around here. A lot of them have shut down because it's, either you conglomerate and get with a bigger chain or you just go out.
Yeah.
They are, there's less people there because they're more of a triage center. Like if you need something more severe or like a higher level surgery or whatever, they will transport you to another facility. Yeah. Basically, they're only there to treat like immediate, like, let's get them stabilized. Let's get them, back out to another place,
Yeah, exactly.
And I do like how dark it is. And I like how, just creepy. I like how empty it is. But it also feels wrong, too, because it's Halloween night. And most healthcare providers will tell you full moons and Halloween are some of the busiest times of the year just because, people get stupid, on those nights.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't believe that it would be as dead in there as what they made it out.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Noah. That's my husband. Scared the shit out of me.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks. You going to be back by 8?
Hopefully.
What do you mean, hopefully? That's what we discussed. He's waving at me like an old man. Waving. Yeah. All right, babe. I'll see you later. That's further proof that I have everyone for all the screams that you get. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but your girl had eye surgery to stop my eyes from bleeding 15, 16 years ago. And it took away my peripheral vision. So if you wonder how I get scared every time that happens, it's not an act. I literally cannot see on the side of myself. So, and they be sneaking up in the dark. I have curtains up and everything in here.
Yeah, you kind of scared me for a second there. It actually did make me jump a little bit.
Which is good. It's Halloween. Everybody deserves a good scare,
But
okay, anyways, back to the show.
But getting back to the movie, visually, like I said, the kills are better, but I don't think it looks better as far as the cinematography. I really don't.
No, but they had a cheat code. They had a bigger budget, and I'm not going to pretend that the explosions, even though terrible, were not exciting. When I saw him get hit and then that ghetto-ass Kmart explosion happened, I was still like, yeah.
I was laughing. I was like, this is bad. This is bad.
I'm sitting there eating candy, and I'm like, nice.
The story, like I said, I really don't like the introduction of her being the sister. I really don't. I agree with Carpenter. It didn't need to be added at all. It's better if he just randomly chose her to be the one that he attacked.
I disagree. I do like the fact that that's his sister.
It works in Rob Zombie's version because they show the baby.
That is true. They don't show the baby at all in the first film on this one. You don't know that she exists. And then their plot line for how the house is acquired and how, well, it's not acquired. I think the Myers, no, not the Myers family. It's the Strodes that own that house, isn't it?
The Strode Realty is trying to sell it.
Okay, it's trying to sell it, and then the Strodes adopted her. Fucking weird, but I know Loomis kind of tried to make it a deal like, I don't understand why they adopted her. Or then I found out they adopted her, and he was weirded out by that, but I don't know why. But anyways, I like it. Realistically, in all the timelines, I was surprised in H2O when they said no, or not H2O, but in 18 when they were like, oh, no, that was just a rumor somebody started. And that was such a quick way to dismiss it. It was just, I don't know. I wasn't buying it. I thought she was just kind of like trying to say that to kind of get it past. It felt so generic when she said, oh, no, that's just something somebody said. Think about other shit. Don't think about that, you know?
I went the opposite way because I don't like it, and I don't think David Gordon Green or Danny McBride care for it as a plot line. So whenever they threw it in there, it was just like them basically saying, fuck anybody who says that she's his sister, because she's not. Basically.
That's clearly what they felt, because the way they poo-pooed it was, again, it was very quick. It was to the point. I get it, but like it was just like, really? You're going to take all of that before, but then again, she's also got like 3 kids that are unaccounted for. They might as well get it. It's Halloween. Anything goes with this film franchise, you know?
Well, I liken it to the multiverse that Marvel likes to throw out there. It's like different continuities based upon different parallel universes. So there you go.
I mean, like the siblings. You don't. Okay, we're just going to have to disagree on that one.
I just don't. It makes him less evil somehow, because like he's got a reason to go after her now because she's related to him. Like before, it was a situation where she just was in the wrong place.
It's the evil that attracts him. There can only be one. It's like the Highlander, you know? She has the ability to be just as evil as him.
Well, that's funny because you literally are discussing, either Rob Zombie's movie, which technically goes into that, or you're buying into the Thorn like druidic thing because like the family is destined to be like, carry the evil and blah, blah, blah.
It's not my fault. Winnie the Loomis said it, so.
Not in this movie, he
Not
didn't.
in this one, no.
Acting wise, Laurie's fine again. Jamie Lee Curtis, Dr. Loomis is fine, even though he's a little bit more over the top in this one. He's not my favorite Loomis if you're going for over the top Loomis, but he's along that continuity, I guess.
You know what Laurie Strode sold to me in this film? And I don't know if you'll agree with me or not. She sold to me that adrenaline is a hell of a fucking drug.
Yeah, she also, she sold like legit how, just like after the nerves have wore off, like how just tired and just ragged somebody feels. Like once that adrenaline spike goes away, and you've had a moment, like just how drained you are. Like they do a good job of making her that way in the movie.
Yeah, because I'm thinking in this film, not only is she fucked up, but she's also drugged. The drugging will take the edge off. It doesn't make you not completely feel the pain. I don't know that there's any pain blocker that will completely, other than when you're having an epidural, but then again, you can't move with an epidural, you know?
The only thing that stops the pain and intense pain is from induce a medical coma, because you have to shut the brain down to stop the pain.
So she's fucked up on drugs. She's in pain still, and she's got to run for her fucking life. The only thing that would have gotten her through that would be, in my opinion, would be adrenaline or crack.
I can't say that the acting for the Dick Warlock who played, and it's not his fault because I've got it in the trivia. Deborah Hill told him to be very slow in this movie, and he was disappointed whenever he saw how it came out, and then she bitched about it, and then he was like, "What the fuck? You were the one when I asked you if I was going too slow, you said it looked fine." but she threw him under the bus after, and she's like, I don't know why he was so slow. That's bad acting, even though he asked her, do I need to speed up? You're the one giving me directions.
Like, nah, you're good. It's all good.
But he is too fucking slow. That scene where he tries to go after I believe it's Laurie in the elevator, and he walks forever slow. And when he finally gets up there, he barely reaches his hand in. So fucking lame. Everybody knows if you're wanting an elevator to go somewhere and some fuckhead comes up and even gets in. I know this is the 80s. I know this is the 80s, and the sensors might be different now. But even with that, if they get the least little bit, if somebody puts the least little bit of pressure on that fucking door, it's going back the other way. I don't care.
Fuck.
I mean,
so you know what though? But do you need to? Does Michael Myers really need to be fast when he can teleport?
He doesn't need to be fast, but he needs to be threatening. And him walking that slow is not threatening. It's not. Yeah,
but okay, think about it this way: zombies. Now, I know there's faster ones in today's times, but even the slower ones back in the day were fucking effective. The motherfuckers just be showing up out of nowhere. They be teleporting too.
Well, the thing about zombies is that there's a bunch of them. So
that's true.
And they never stop, which, I mean, I guess you could argue about Michael, but at the same time, he's one man. And, I mean, there's not multiple versions of him that are coming after you. It's the threat of so many coming at you and that overwhelming horde. Him moving slow does not add to anything. It works in the first movie because he's mostly in the background.
Yeah.
And he's mostly, and that he's waiting to strike. He's like like some kind of, predatory cat or something that's just biding its time waiting for you to get in the right position so he can strike out. This movie, he's like literally behind you, but he still can't reach you for long lengths of the movie,
For this fool being a mouth breather, he sure is fucking quiet when he needs to be. These bitches could learn from him because they be hiding and they're like,
that's another thing. That's another thing I don't like in this movie. They give him away quite a bit in this movie by going,
yeah,
like it works better in the first movie where, I mean, like I go back to that scene, but Laurie's standing there and he appears right behind her and you might hear his breath after you see his face, but you see the face first. I mean, and this one, they have his breathing and then you're like, oh fuck, he's somewhere around.
He's a mouth breathing motherfucker.
Music's still great because it's that classic, Carpenter score. You can't get any better. Although there are certain ones that I noticed that cues in this movie that I didn't like as well as in the first movie. There's one scene where there's a chord that Carpenter hits and it sounds kind of funky even in the first movie. It's like a brrrr, but the way it applies in some scene in this movie, I just remember it. I can't pinpoint it, but it's somewhere in the hospital. Big whoop, because they're all the same in the hospital. But the way that he plays it almost has a comedic effect. It doesn't quite fit that scene because Michael's walking towards something. It's like, brrr, and it's just it almost sounds like a fart, like an electronic fart or something.
I know what you're talking about. It's definitely a synthesizer sound, and it's one thing if they're holding it and pressing it and adding other keys to it, but in this case, this was just like a blaring. Brrr.
Yeah, and I don't know. The rest of it's fine. It plays out like the first movie for the most part, music wise.
Yeah.
So, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I still don't like this movie. It's fine. It's not the worst slasher we've seen by any means. Whenever I was describing it to Cody and I was just kind of talking to him about it, this is as mid can get as far as the slasher goes. It's right there. It exists. Okay, I mean, but if I want over the top Loomis, it's not. I don't. This is not the movie that has over the top Loomis. This is he's getting there, Loomis. So it's not even got that going for it. And Laurie's kind of wasted in this movie. I mean, they give her a reason, but she's still wasted.
Yeah,
and literally wasted. She's I'm out of it. And then, like I said, that setting, it's so dull after a certain point. I just get sick of seeing that hospital.
Yeah, it is very dull. It's very boring. It's very depressing, but not in a good way that it that enhances the film in any way.
And I say this because I know that or like older fans of this franchise love this fucking movie. They always say, "Oh man, part two, that scene where he's on fire, that's fucking amazing, man." And that scene is cool. I'll give them that. But it's in a movie that's not that great. It's just okay.
Oh,
you know? I mean, and we've covered this before on this show. I mean, on this podcast, it's like, you can have good scenes in a show, but like if the overall movie is just kind of meh, like, I mean, it still doesn't make it a great movie for having those individual scenes in it, you know?
Yeah, I think for me, the most disappointing thing of this film is if I didn't care for Laurie Strode too much in the first film, I especially did not appreciate her in this film.
No, that's what I was telling. Yeah. That's what I was meaning earlier.
Oh no,
like,
I know.
If you didn't think she did much in the first one, she does nothing in this one at all.
Yeah, and so I really started questioning life after this film, and it's like, where are we going? Like, I know I haven't rewatched 3 yet. I did not include that with this. I don't know if you did or didn't, because I'm like,
I did not, because it's its own thing, and 3 is just 3 goes places. 3 throws it to the wall and says, "Let's see what fucking sticks with this thing." It's out there.
And a lot of people, even directors that come in the future, are like, "Look, at 3 is so underrated." And I remember loving it. I'm gonna keep that love in my heart right now, and we will rewatch it and we will address it when we need to. Even my husband loves it. Coworkers that I've been talking to are like, "Oh yeah, I loved Season of the Witch."
The best thing that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride did in Halloween Kills, even if you didn't like, Evil Dies Tonight, they fucking brought the mask. They brought the mask back. Part 3.
Yes, they did.
I love that.
I am so glad that they did that. That just shows a love and respect for the franchise that you gotta have. I don't care if it's not a Michael Myers movie, and I know we are reviewing Michael Myers as a slasher right now, and I'm giving him the love and respect that he deserves. However, that film is a Halloween film, and it should not be excluded from the watch list.
It shouldn't be. Also, what hurts this movie otherwise, and I thought about this, the best scenes in this movie, as I've said, for me, is that seeing the town, while he's going on the rampage afterward.
Yeah.
Halloween 2018 does that better. It does.
Yeah, they do.
The scene where he's going from house to house, they're like in the middle section of the movie, it takes all the best parts from this and they reconfigure. Like I said, there's a lot of scenes in that 2018 film that go back to the previous 2. But they take some scenes where, especially like the interactions with the neighbors, and do them better, because there's, I mean, just the way it's filmed, the way that the chaos in the streets is, it's better done in 2018. I know that's, I mean, and I'm trying not to, take another movie and judge this one against it. But when that other movie exists now, you can't, I mean, I know plenty of people that's like, I don't really care for that David Gordon Green fucker in his movies, but goddamn, part 2's like the best thing ever. He took some of the best parts from part 2 and threw it in 2018.
Yes.
So don't bitch about 2018, because it's actually improving upon some of this stuff.
I feel like one way or another, we're going to be disappointed if we have a really good part 1 and part 2 of a horror franchise, and then it's remade later on and the remake sucks. We're going to be like, fuck, why did you even touch that? Don't you dare. You suck. I hate you, whatever. But if we have a good part 1 and 2, but we have an even better remake, then it's like, fuck, the classic sucks. And I don't know which one hurts worse. I feel like it sucks to have the classic, not be the best.
I don't know if that's ever a possibility, though, because if the first movie was good and they do a remake that's better, that doesn't take away from the first movie.
That's true.
It's just that they took what worked, or maybe went a different direction with it. Like John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that liked it, and I don't know if Carpenter did, and that's the reason he took on the job. But a lot of people liked The Thing from Outer Space. They said it was a good classic movie. But then Carpenter came in, went a different route. He basically went back to the book that the movie was based on, and took like a different inspiration and made a movie that fucking people just amazed by. So, I mean, it's just like you, and there's a lot of people that, like older folks, that still love that original movie. So it didn't take away from that movie their enjoyment of it. It just gave another alternative. And that's what good remakes can do.
Yeah.
And so I don't
I can rephrase my statement a little bit differently, though, because you can also have a franchise that has a 1 and 2 that kicks off a franchise. It's not necessarily good, but for some reason, it stuck. And it kicked off a franchise.
Friday the 13th Part 1.
There you go. And then it can be remade. And that is when, in my opinion, it kind of sucks.
And there's a lot of older horror fans that have went back to Part 1 and I don't, it's their opinion, they can have it, but they try to throw out there Friday the 13th as some kind of masterpiece. I don't know what they're seeing in it, because the original Friday the 13th is just okay.
It's just okay.
It just is.
I think that because the problem is that most of the people that are seeing Friday the 13th, they know Jason Voorhees. So when they watch it for the first time, they're like, Mrs. Voorhees? It's like what a twist to them. You know, it's like, oh my God. And that was a pretty cool twist back in the day. But the hockey mask didn't even exist. Like, there's not a lot. I don't know. It's good. I'm glad that it exists to give us what it gave us.
Yeah, I don't hate it, and like I said, I don't hate this. This is just like, but it's not as good as everybody, as like some of these older fans like make it out to be. At least not in my opinion. It just isn't.
They're just trying to be one of those. Well, I thought it was cool before everyone else thought it was cool. You know.
Yeah, that's a lot of it too. It's just like, well, you didn't appreciate the fact that Michael was Laurie's brother because you didn't realize that it was revealed like 3/4 of the way through Part 2. It's like, yeah, I saw it, and I think it's a bad reveal, but whatever, you know, it's okay. This film is it's not one that I would like go out of my way to watch.
You know what? I just thought of something. The reveal in Part 2 that Laurie Strode is his sister is, to me, just as bad as the reveal that Laurie Strode is not his sister in 18. They were just as bad. They were just very, and by the way, you're his sister.
Well, the problem is that I don't even think they wanted to acknowledge it in 2018, but they had to throw it in there because the old fans that loves Part 2 would bitch because they had another film. They had H2O that cemented the fact that she was the sister.
Yes.
You know, so the older fans were like, what the fuck? Is she not the sister anymore? So they had to throw something in there to appease them, you know.
Oh,
which I don't think it did, because there's a lot of those older fans like, fuck David Gordon Green in his fucking 2018 movie.
Oh my God.
Whatever. It's okay, folks. I think Part 1 is still better, and that says a lot. I mean, the fact that it was not even a fraction of the budget that they used for this, and it still somehow looks better to me. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Trivia for this movie. This film was bookended by the song Mr. Sandman, sung by the Chordettes. The tune would also be used in the later Halloween movie H2O 20 years later. To get the role of Michael Myers, Dick Warlock revealed that as he passed by a room, the Michael Myers mask was on a table. He put the mask on and walked into Rick Rosenthal's office and just stood there. After Rosenthal continuously asked him who he was and he didn't reply, he took off the mask and asked if he could play Michael Myers at that point. I mean, that's one. If you can't live 2 doors down and be friends with John Carpenter and get the role, just go in there and put the mask on and just stand there. I mean, that's another way to get the role.
I mean, if you want to be in a film as a screen queen, just walk in and show your tits.
This film is set immediately after the first Halloween in 1978. Since Jamie Lee Curtis had begun to wear a much shorter hairstyle in the 1980s, she had to wear a wig that matched her original hairstyle for the film. And that wig doesn't look that great, I don't think. It's okay, but this is the only Halloween film to show the morning after the 31st. Every other Halloween movie ends on Halloween night.
Oh, yeah. Okay, because I was kind of looking for that in other films where it's like, okay, where's the next day, you know?
Yeah, I think Kills maybe takes place later that same night, and then when you get to Ends, it skips ahead. Like it's like not even the same year. It's like years down the road or something. The sequel, though not as successful as the box office of the original film, still grossed more money than other 1980 horror movies such as The Howling, Friday the 13th Part 2, and The Final Conflict. The fact that this movie came out with Friday the 13th Part 2 came out, which I think is a much better film, says a lot about this one. I mean, people can be fans of it, but they got to admit the game had been upped at that point.
Yeah, it's funny because shout out to my girl Sarai at work, but she said that our review of Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 2, gave her like this newfound, like, I didn't realize how good this film was. And it's like,
I didn't realize it until we went back and watched it because I didn't grow up on it, honestly. I grew up on 6, and then I went back and like picked up 4, and then like I piddled my way through the rest of them.
Well, same. I mean, look at me watching some of these for the first time ever.
And then, of course, 7, which had the biggest drop for me, was one that I remember watching the shit out of too whenever I was a kid, and like it to me, it just didn't stand up as well. But that sometimes that happens. Dick Warlock made sure that everyone was safe when they filmed the death scenes. For example, during Leo Rossi's death scene where he was strangled from behind, he told Leo Rossi to arch his back and his arms further as he gave 4 tugs, telling him to go limp after 4 tug and he would cushion the fall.
Aww.
That's pretty nice of him.
He's a gentle killer. You know what? We could use people like that on the set of movies. Certain actor that likes to shoot off guns.
You mean director that shoots off guns that's no longer with us?
My bad. Yes.
R.I.P. William Friedkin. You were an asshole, but I mean, hopefully you went to the good place. I don't know how you did, but I mean, that's not me to judge, so whatever. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill originally had no interest in making a sequel, as they believed the original Halloween was a standalone movie. Carpenter also felt at the time that the studio hadn't paid him a fair amount of money for writing and directing the original movie, although we just said he accepted it.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty good sum, so that's on him. But considering that it had been so profitable, he wanted more money. When the studio offered him more money to write the script for the sequel, Carpenter accepted the job as well as producer's credit, so that he earned back what he believed was what he was owed from the first movie, and he immediately received a significant back-end salary for 78 years later as well. However, due to lack of ideas, the script not forming out as well as he thought, and he was personally stated that the only thing helping him through the screenplay process was a 6-pack of Budweiser every day. That led him to what he believes an inferior script and bad choices in the movie's story. He later called Halloween 2 an abomination, a horrible movie.
Wow.
I got to agree with John Carpenter on this. Like, he's got some bad takes now, and I think it's the weed. I really do. It's the weed and the Call of Duty. He's got some bad takes, but the man knew what he was talking about whenever he was bitching about this movie. He really did. And he has also said, I got to give him credit for this. When people like bitch about movies that like have his name attached to them now, and he tells them, he's like, well, I got paid for it. So yeah. I mean,
look, he got his paper. That's all he cares about. And you know what? It's still a cult classic. How many of us can say we've accomplished that? Hardly any of us.
He came out and said that Halloween Kills was, he thinks, a pretty damn good movie from David Gordon Green. That's caught a lot of flack from people because a lot of people don't like Kills. I don't hate the movie. I really don't. But I think The Evil Dies Tonight was pretty fucking stupid in it. It said to me.
Yeah, quit making us promises. Y'all be lying with these taglines.
And The Body and the Blood and that new Exorcist movie, The Believer, that's the same kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But Halloween 2 was originally written to take place in a high-rise apartment building. Later in script meetings, however, the setting was changed to the hospital. Yeah, I don't think Evil Dead Rise, a.k.a. Michael Myers Rise, would been
Michael Myers Rise. I do love Evil Dead Rise and the location that they set. That movie couldn't have been... I love how it was just one fucking floor. Like, you think that it's the whole ass building. No, it's one floor. And
I like how they did it. I really did. Yeah.
And for this particular, I don't know. I think that the deaths that they chose in the location, I think it works. Even though you and I both agree that the hospital was bleh. They could have done something more. They could have spiced it up a little bit. They could have made not the nurses look like all the girls from a fucking, I don't know, those 80s music videos back in the day where all the girls were dressed as band members behind the fucking singer. Oh,
yeah, like Addicted to Love.
Yeah,
like that,
Addicted to Blood.
Yeah. Have Michael Myers on a guitar,
Yeah.
and he's playing that song, and then the nurses are behind him, and they've got the IVs
Yeah.
with the blood draining out of them as they're dancing or whatever. Yeah,
Something.
that'd been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that now and probably have a decent TikTok hit, but no,
That's actually not a bad idea, but anyway.
I know. I digress. No, but seriously, like the nurses, it was like, who died? Wait, didn't she die already? Like, what the fuck, The only ones that were noticeable were the ones that kind of covered up,
Yeah, and then Alves, because, like, obviously she's the only one who is not just a blonde white chick.
Yes, correct.
I know there were some brunettes in the movie, folks, but still.
Believe it or not, if you look real closely.
The scenes at the hospital with the mother and her son dressed as a pirate with a bleeding mouth as a result of an injury from biting a razor blade was originally supposed to be the first look at Carpenter Hill's anthology idea for the series after this film. I like that inclusion because I do see him setting up the anthology, but it didn't peter out, so it didn't really matter. It didn't matter. The first of 4 films in the series to begin with the ending of the previous film. Halloween 5 picked up where Halloween 4 left off. Halloween 2 from 2009 picks up where the series reboot 2007 ended. And Halloween Kills continues directly from Halloween 2018 and even briefly from Halloween 1978. So.
Okay, pardon me for a moment as I read that out loud so I can absorb what information you're sharing with me. The first 4 films in the series to begin with the ending of the previous films, Halloween.
It's basically like previously on Halloween,
Oh God, get us Jensen Ackles here. Okay,
Sammy!
So 4 led right into 5. Hold on.
Yeah, 4 led into 5. Halloween 2007 led into Halloween 2009.
Okay.
And then Halloween 2018 led directly into Halloween Kills.
Well, didn't technically 1 lead right into 2, but we've already discussed that, so I guess that's why not. That's why
I say it's the first of the 4 films to do that. So.
Okay. Look at me. Okay.
To achieve the bloody tears scene, according to Dick Warlock, in the mask's forehead was a bulb of fake blood, and when Dick Warlock stumbled back and put his hand on the mask, is when the blood was released.
I love it.
It's a cool look.
Yeah.
Deborah Hill years later knocked Dick Warlock's portrayal as Michael Myers, claiming he didn't move as well as Nick Castle or have his body language. Dick defended himself, saying he followed her instructions all the time while she was on the set, and she never showed any dissatisfaction with his work at the time of filming.
Hey, Deborah, quit being a dick. The fuck, dude? He did fine. Leave him alone. I know he was slower. Like, I get it, but that's your fucking fault.
That is her fault, literally. John Carpenter produced, supervised, and co-scripted, and even directed uncredited a few additional scenes for this film. Carpenter's music from the first film was also used, and he was involved in the film's post-production. So he actually did quite a bit on the movie, even if he,
No, his name deserves to be on the top of these. John Carpenter's, yeah, you got it, babe.
Until Halloween 2018, this was the only one of the only 2 Halloween films released by Universal Studios. After the massive success for the first film, Universal picked up this one, and then they picked up Season of the Witch, which didn't fare so well. Universal gave the rights to Trancas International, an affiliate of Universal's, who produced the films until '89. In 1986, the rights were sold to Miramax, who again has them now to go forward. So it seems like Universal and Miramax are just kind of like playing, hot potato with this franchise.
Yeah, and Miramax is under Paramount, I believe, is what I looked up. Which means that they could either be on Paramount Plus or they could be on Peacock if these shows come up.
That also means that Michael Myers could appear in a Scream film. I mean, really, he could, because they own the rights to both.
Legitimately. Also, that being said, it's funny. So Universal still has some rights because clearly we have a lot of Halloween at HHN.
Yeah, well, they can always go back to 2. They can always use the new films.
Oh, yeah, they got fucking Loomis all the time in the houses I go through.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, and they can also always get the rights to that stuff because they license out to other people, Warner Brothers in particular, which that's a whole other thing. But there's rumors that Warner Brothers might be up for sale before too much longer, or at least parts of Warner Brothers. And I hope to God Universal tries their best to get that because I don't want the Rat House to get them. So
yeah. Oh, shit. In front of my house right now. I'm watching on the camera. But obviously we have that house down the street. This guy, I have to send you pictures. This guy has a ton of fucking skeletons. He's got a couple of the 12-foot skeletons. He's got a whole area in the backyard you can walk through. He's got a whole horror theme going on that he does for his wife. If you're listening, honey, you know what I want. Anyways, so it's attracting a lot of people this year. And now we've got like people driving down our street and like literally just parking in front of my house right now. Well, driveway specifically.
Are they parking like old station wagons that are from Smith's Grove's sanitarium?
Thankfully not. We would not be recording at the moment.
Tommy Lee Wallace was originally offered the opportunity to direct this film, having worked as the editor and production designer on the original. But like I mentioned previously, he had his own thoughts about where the sequel should go, picking up years later. Wallace maintained his interest and was still set to direct, even appearing as a director in 1980 trade ad released by Film Waste Pictures. But when Carpenter finished the script and presented it to Wallace, he was extremely disappointed to discover the intention to make the film as bloody and violent as the original's imitators, which had used such conventions to ensure their success. Basically, he withdrew because he felt like that they should have kept it bloodless, kind of like or as bloodless as possible as the first movie.
No.
It would have worked if they would have done something different besides the hospital. But
yeah.
But if you have that boring ass set,
yes,
you got to have something else to pull the attention.
Yeah, and like
I will agree with you profusely that you got to have explosions and all that to pump up the fact that you've got the shitty set that you're working with.
You got the budget, you got to spice it up a little bit, and they tried. We'll just throw it there. They tried. An attempt was made. They did good on a lot of things, but I'm glad it wasn't. Can you imagine how more boring this movie would be if it was bloodless?
Yeah, it'd be, especially, I mean, that's one of the best things about that scene with Nurse Alves or whatever, is just like that blood dripping out of her arm. I mean, that's pretty cool. Pamela Susan Shoup told Femme Fatale's magazine in 2001 that she didn't want to do the film because she hated horror movies and it required nudity, which she'd never done before, but her manager pushed her into it, saying it was a high-profile production. She reluctantly agreed. She spent 2 days shooting her nude scene in the jacuzzi and hated every minute of it. She was crying on the second day heading to the studio and almost didn't go. The producers had promised her a closed set, but she counted 19 people, mostly men, standing around watching her get naked every day. And then the director started pressuring her into shooting it fully nude, which wasn't in the contract. Shoup said she almost agreed, but producer Deborah Hill finally stepped in and told her she didn't have to do it.
Jesus Christ.
Also, I read that jacuzzi tub was freaking cold.
Ooh, hell no.
Yeah, so that's a whole thing.
I mean, yeah, no wonder she jumped in and was like, ooh, it's hot. No, it was cold.
This is one of the only slasher films in 1981 to remain uncut, like others that have been heavily cut by the MPAA, such as Friday Part 2 and My Bloody Valentine in 1981. So they somehow got the MPAA not to cut out all the blood and other stuff. I don't know how, but
yeah.
The entirety of the opening first 3 minutes of the film is simply archive footage from the previous film. The director used theatrical differences to enhance his version of the ending.
Okay.
At around 1 hour, 17 minutes, Jamie Lee Curtis did her own stunt when she falls out of the chair into the parking lot asphalt.
That's cool.
At the end, Hunt asks what's the court, and is told 10 so far, or what's the count, and is told 10 so far. But altogether, there are 13 victims between the first and second movies. There's the mechanic in the first movie where Loomis finds the truck with a hospital gown and where Michael got his coveralls. And also poor Alice, the first victim in Halloween 2, who either hasn't been found yet or is actually, in actuality, her death was filmed by John Carpenter post-production to get one more kill to make it scarier. If counting the novels based on the two movies, there are two additional victims. One is a guard who was killed at Smith's Grove the night that Michael escapes, and also a female news producer is killed when she discovers Michael is stowed away in her trunk while trying to fix a flat tire, which is how Michael drove himself to the area where the hospital is. That's not including poor Lester, the German Shepherd, and the dog he ate at the house.
Poor Lester.
So them not having the right, but they also say so far, so they kind of hedged their bet in that scene. So I give them that.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy though if they still haven't found that mechanic. Like that's I mean, it's only like a day removed, but still, like, I mean, that sucks for him.
Where did he go? And damn, how did they hide that big ass body? I'm just kidding.
In a rough draft of the script, Michael Myers was supposed to hide in the trunk of the blonde reporter's car. Like I said, the car was to get a flat tire. She'd go to her trunk, and Michael was to jump out and kill her. However, the scene was cut due to it not really having much of a purpose in the overall plot of the film.
Could you imagine him slowly getting out of that trunk with the fucking direction of fucking what's her name?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you just hear that diddly,
Yeah.
little sound.
It's like she would have had so much time to run.
The first of two Halloween movies directed by Rick Rosenthal, who would later go on to helm Halloween Resurrection in 2002, the eighth and final film in the original series. Rick, you ain't batting too high in my opinion here, buddy. I mean, you get this one, which is okay, and then you get the worst fucking thing that's pretty much been put in a major series.
Yeah.
Dick Warlock was 41 playing a 21-year-old Michael Myers.
I mean, it's not hard. You got a fucking mask on. I'm just saying.
Yeah. John Carpenter spent time growing up in Bowling Green. There are several references, like I said, Russellville, Smiths Grove. Bowling Green is in Warren County, where Haddonfield's set. And Elrod, Chestnut, 31 West Bypass, and Scottsville are all names of local streets in Bowling Green. Additionally, someone in the film makes a reference to the Lost River Drive-In, which is a real drive-in theater in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Wow.
So there you go.
We do have a Bowling Green out in Sacramento, which is near where I live. And it is like, it's like a diamond in the rough. So it's like surrounded by ghetto neighborhoods, but it has never turned into a ghetto area. Like, it has maintained itself. It's hidden. It's weird. And it just matches its name because just the lawns are just always perfectly green. I don't know. It's hard to explain. So every time I hear Bowling Green, I'm thinking of that area, which is, it's gorgeous. I wouldn't want to live there because of where it's surrounded, but.
The one here in Kentucky is pretty nice too, but it's one of those towns that's like very, it's sprawling, I guess is what I'm looking for. Like, it's not, I mean, like, it's like, how long, I mean, am I still in Bowling Green? Yes, you're in Bowling Green, because it's like, there's like different sections of the interstate that, like, connect it, and it just goes on and on and on with a lot of suburbs and stuff like that, and it's not like concentrated like some of the bigger cities are. And it's only like an hour north of Nashville, so they've got like this whole competition between each other.
Oh shit!
For like music. Cage the Elephants, like one of the bands that came from Bowling Green,
Wow.
So at around 24 minutes, although uncredited, actress Anne Marie Martin plays Karen's friend Darcy Esmont, who needed a ride home after the Halloween party they attended. She was billed under her real name, Eddie Benton, as a rival opposite Jamie Lee Curtis in the Canadian horror film Prom Night the year before.
Oh,
so
wow.
a little prom night interaction going on.
Ooh.
I think it's funny too, because I just watched Halloween after watching this one, the original Halloween. And whenever Annie is telling, is talking about Ben Tramer, she mentions the fact that he's going to a party to get drunk. And that's exactly where he's coming from in this movie. They did a good job with that, because that's why he dopily walks out in front of in the middle of the street, because he's just blasted out of his mind.
Oh, yeah.
Dick Warlock sold the mask, knife, scalpel, boots, and jumpsuit to a haunted house owner in Ohio in 2003. Warlock claims that because producers expected this film to be the last film in the series, they let him keep the costume. However, after they did that, they made Halloween 4, they realized they made a mistake and never again let a cast and crew take props from the set. Therefore, subsequent sequels use different masks that look rather different and shitty, by the way.
Yes. Oh, my God.
The mask Warlock wore is actually the same exact mask, a repainted, modified Captain Kirk mask that's worn in the original film. It looks different in the sequel because the paint had faded for a few different reasons. First, Nick Castle liked to keep it in his back pocket between shoots, so the paint was rubbing off from that.
Yeah.
Deborah Hill kept the mask on her bed for several years, and she was basically a chain smoker, so it got yellowish tint from all the smoke that she damaged it with. The mask appears wider because Dick Warlock is shorter and stockier at 5'9" than Nick Castle, who's 5'10", so the mask fits his head differently, so it's kind of stretched out a little bit.
Oh my God.
This is a little bit of trivia because I don't know what movie you're going to pick, but in Halloween 4, the reason the mask is they didn't have the first mask to use, but they made replicas that were exactly based upon the specifications from the first two films. The problem is that whenever they got them back from the people who made them, they had made them hot pink on the face and they had made the hair blonde.
Why?
So they had to go through and spray paint them white on the face, which covered up a lot of the like contours of the mask, which made it look goofy as fuck in the part 4.
Those were horrible.
And then they had to spray paint the hair brown, but they fucked up and forgot to spray paint the hair brown in one of the masks. So if you're watching part 4, there is a scene where Loomis gets attacked in the school by a blonde-haired Michael Myers for like one scene, and then it goes back to being brown for the rest of the film. It's kind of hilarious when he pops up.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, those masks were horrible. Is what I want to say. But second,
the one in part 5 looks like Nick Cage. It straight up looks like Nick Cage. That's the one actually I have behind me right now.
Oh,
on the camera.
Which, okay, but homie, okay, how clearly it was hard to redo the mask and everything. Like, he sold the mask, the scalpel, the boots, and the jumpsuit. Oh my God, how are we ever going to recover those? It was the mask that they had to worry about, but everything else, I think they were fine.
Oh, the fucking mechanic suit looks fine in all the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
Good God, the mask. I'm looking at pictures of the mask right now, and they are
the ones in the 2018 David Gordon Green, I especially the burnt one from Kills on.
Yeah.
I love that look of the mask. It's really good. I don't mind the one that's in the Rob Zombie remakes because in that one they establish a different continuity where it's actually Judith Myers' boyfriend who brings the Michael Myers mask to have sex with Judith, and that's when Michael takes the mask after he kills him.
Yeah.
And it's older by the time that he actually uses an adult, so it's got that aged look to it.
Yeah.
And in part 2, where people have like grabbed at the mask and kind of tore it and it's peeling, like you can see more of his face in that movie, which is fine because even though I do appreciate the eyeless look in the original, Zombie was going for a different thing with a more, human Michael in his movie, so it works out.
Yeah.
But the first 2 movies are the only ones in the original continuity that have good masks. The one in H2O is stupid as fuck. Like, he's got spiky hair in that fucking movie.
Yeah. They had to make him more with the times.
Yeah, he looks like he's from the 1998, which is dumb.
Oh my God. It's so true.
And it's not aged at all. It's like, this is 20 years later. That mask, that latex is not doing anything different. Like, really?
So question, can we at least agree that his hair in H2O was a lot better than Josh Hartnett's haircut?
Oh, it was for sure, yes. It was not a bad haircut. It was just look stupid on Michael, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and the eyes through the mask look fucking so dumb.
They do. Like, he really doesn't look good with his eyes showing.
Mm-mm.
All right, Death Holler awards for this one. Laurie Strode is worthless in this movie. Yeah. She's not a good final girl in part 2, but, I mean, they give her a reason, but still, she just limps through a hallway, kind of screams, help me, and then waits for Loomis to save her. That's really what she does.
I don't. Yeah, she was weak in this. It was literally Loomis that was doing everything, and I was like, you know that meme where it's a guy poking something with a stick, and it's like, do something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That was me doing that to Laurie Strode. I was like, fucking do something. I understand she was drugged and she's in pain and shit, but like, bitch, run.
Well, even when she got out of the hospital there at one point, she's hiding in a car.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then for some reason, Jimmy decides to get in that specific car.
Yeah.
And she doesn't try to prevent his head from falling. She just waits until he's signaled the horn.
Yeah.
Which is already too late at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, she does nothing in the movie.
Yeah, she's pretty useless.
Michael Myers is not at his best in this movie because he can't even open a fucking elevator door. He's that weak.
Yeah, he's very slow. He can teleport though, so
he can somehow lift a nurse with a scalpel off the ground, but he can't open up an elevator door.
That's semantics.
But seeing his eyes bleed, seeing him on fire, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
Best kill, Ben Tramer, because it's fucking hilarious. That explosion is so fucking stupid. And the body that results is later on in the movie is actually pretty cool effects.
I liked it. That looked good.
And then from Michael, since that was an accident from a cop and not technically from the killer, the best Michael for me was that bloody IV. I just like the fact that he was smart enough to like, I'm just gonna let this bitch bleed out, you know?
Yeah. So this isn't a kill. This is more like a best death, if anything. But I really loved when that guy slipped on all the blood and fell and fucking just blood just spurts out of his mouth. That was, I loved it.
Best scream. It's
Laurie.
Laurie again, because that's all she does throughout this movie.
Yeah.
It's just scream. Best boobs, Nurse Karen before they get burnt.
Yes.
You know, and if she would have turned into Freddy Krueger with burnt tits, then that would have been weird, but it would have been expected because he does that a lot.
Yeah, maybe that's where the inspo came from.
Best side character, I couldn't come up with one. I really couldn't. Like, I mean, because Loomis is a main character for sure. He's not side anything. Most of the other side characters are bad. I mean, I don't really. The nurses are lame. That one bitch that comes to get Loomis from, Smith's Grove.
Yeah,
she's just kind of like exposition thrown out there. There's nothing to her. That cop is okay. The cop that takes him around and shares a cigarette with him or whatever, he's all right.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with you. I don't have one.
Franklin Award goes to Loomis because he's borderline annoying in this movie.
He really is.
He's getting there. 6 shots. I shot him 6 times.
He took it up a notch in this film, and he didn't. He needed to bring it down from the first film.
How annoying is Doom Prophet? He's kind of getting annoying.
That's Loomis.
He is.
Yeah.
Dumbest moment. God, there's a lot in this movie. That car explosion's dumb. Jimmy taking off on a blood-slick floor like his ass was on fire, just so he could fall and get his head hit. Sam Hain, like how was it pronounced? Why was it written? And then the explanation later, it's like they worship the Dark Lord. That's not what Samhain is about. So like the whole thing's bad. Michael being Laurie's brother.
Don't you dare.
I know some people love that, but
don't you dare.
It's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's like that meme from Glass Onion. Don't you think it's smart? No, it's dumb. It's just dumb.
Jesus.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this movie? You can say your piece about Laurie being the sister being like the best thing in cinematic history. Go ahead. You have your.
I'm not going to say it's the best thing in cinematic history. I am going to say that it fucking works because I don't know. I don't know what the drive is. It's like he's drawn to her. Just some random hoe. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, oh, that's some girl I met on the side of the street. I want to kill the fuck out of her.
That makes it more evil, though. Like, he's so evil that he wants to just fucking finish the job, even because he didn't get it done the first time,
That could.
Like, he doesn't want to let go. Like that. What she randomly walked up to the steps of his parents' house. He's like, fuck this bitch. She's dead. He didn't get the job done the first movie. He's just going to keep on coming after until he gets it over with.
Well, Laurie comes back to life just as much as Michael does. It's in the blood.
The body and the blood.
Yes, the body and the blood. I have spoken. The prostitution rest.
Are you going to say anything else to defend this movie? I
have nothing to defend this movie. I told you my small key moments that I liked. I do appreciate that they did try to do something with the budget. Unfortunately, it was not a banger. There's little tweaks I feel that could have happened that would have made this better of a film. Make Laurie more of the final girl that we needed.
Make her more the final girl. Set it less. Have the hospital be like the very last thing in the movie.
Yeah.
Have more Michael on the street.
Yes, more Laurie in the sheets of the hospital and Michael in the streets.
And then Laurie could be like hearing the news and like freaking out and thinking that she needs to like do something,
yeah.
or and give her like a little bit more something to react to.
She has more time to prep. Absolutely, it would have added more. Bring Loomis down
They
a notch.
actually did that in Halloween Kills, though, so they technically did that.
Understandably. Loomis, bring him down a notch and have him start explaining things. You don't need to take 2 minutes. Like, he had monologues in the first film. You didn't even need that. Just take a second, be like, hey, there's a serial killer by the name of Michael Myers. He used to be my patient. He's crazy. He's armed and dangerous. We need to find him. Done. I did that in, 3 or 4 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be mad and scream something, at least scream something that makes sense. And get some depth to that voice, because you sound like fucking Winnie the Pooh. Do you think we should tell them what our picks are?
Not until Halloween.
Yep. If you guys want to know what our picks are, you're going to have to wait until Halloween.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, folks. With that, peace be with you.
And with your spirit.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone.